Hello, everyone. This is the officially unofficial geek channel. I am your host, Carrie Quinn, and this is Flashback Friday, where this week I am talking by special request made by my boyfriend to talk about the first 4 issues of Hardware. This is the Hardware from 1993 from Milestone Media, Milestone Comics, distributed by DC Comics. Hardware is one of the first, if not, I think the first comic book hero that they published. One of them it's one of the first, yes. I cannot remember off the top of my head if it was this or Static first, but Hardware, yes. So I read the first 4 issues of Hardware using the DC Universe Infinite app, and we also have a copy of the Milestone Compendium 1, even though I did not use that to read this. I actually read it all on my handy dandy app on my phone. It's easy. Hashtag not sponsored, but it's one of my favorite things to use to do this with. Okay, so a little bit of information about Milestone Media. I do have some notes here on my phone, so I'm going to be referencing them. A little information about Milestone Media. Basically, I kind of already mentioned it. Milestone Media is the company that did Milestone Comics, which was distributed by DC Comics, and it was created by 4 gentlemen, 4 Black African American artists and writers, consisting of Dwayne Mcduffie, Dennis Cowan, Michael Davis, and Derek T. Dingle. So the reason why, and it's been mentioned in interviews and everything, like the reason why they started Milestone Media is because they had all been working in entertainment as editors, writers, artists, whatever. And they noticed that there was a lack of decent representation for minorities, Black and brown people, people of color, and they wanted to do something about that. And so they started Milestone Media, Milestone Comics. This was back in 1993. So even now, like when we have this push for more representation in media, especially in comics, in comic media, they were really doing it before anyone else, with Milestone Media Company. So I read the first 4 issues of Hardware. I really enjoyed it. Just, right off the bat, I really enjoyed it. But what I want to do is I want to take a little bit of time to talk about the main creators on the book specifically. But first, I want to tell you a little bit of information about the other 2 gentlemen that started Milestone Media. So let's see here. Derek T. Dingle is an editor. He has authored a lot of magazine and cover stories for a periodical referred to as Black Enterprise. He has appeared numerous places. He's appeared on CNN, CNBC, NBC's Weekend Today, and NPR, National Public Radio. He is, prior to becoming the editor-in-chief of Black Enterprise, he was he served as the publication's executive editor from the year 2000 to July of 2008. He obviously, earlier in the career, co-founded Milestone Media. He is known, he co-created A Static Shock. He is the author of Titans of the BE 100s, Black CEOs Who Redefined and Conquered American Business, and he was a member of the National Association of Black Journalists, and the American Society of Magazine Editors. He is also serving on the board of Norfolk State University's School of Communication. So this guy is a big to-do, okay? Yeah, so this is one of the co-founders of Milestone Media. Another person we can talk about, there's not a lot of information on Wikipedia, one about Derek T. Dingle, and two about Michael Davis, but I want to talk a little bit about him because he is part of this. He is important. So he is one of the co-founders and writer of Milestone Media. He also, if you are familiar with the Comic Buyer's Guide, in the late 1980s, if you were old enough in reading that, you know, at that time, he did have an advice column in there that he wrote. He also collaborated with Tim Conrad on the series Etc. for DC Comics imprint Pariah Press. In 1992, in 1993, he co-founded Milestone Media with the three other gentlemen, and contributed to the creation of many characters such as Hardware, Static Shock, Icon, and Blood Syndicate. After he left Milestone Media, he launched a company named Motown Machine Works. Motown Machine Works, he was eventually working with Dennis Cowan there, and he served as the president CEO of Motown Animation and Filmworks until 1996. He also was the president for animation for Magic Johnson Entertainment. And in 2006, he created the Guardian line for Urban Comic for Urban Ministries. So he has also done a lot of other work that you can check out, like I just mentioned, other than just Milestone Media. Milestone Media, Hardware was created and written by Milestone Media. It has recently been re-released in a new version, kind of a reboot through DC Comics. And what I actually read for Flashback Friday is the original 1993 first 4 issues of Hardware. Now, Hardware had a number of people working on it. I'm going to go ahead and mention some of the other people besides the main Milestone guys that were working on it. We have, let's see here, let me pull this up here. We can pull up an issue 2. I'm using DC Universe Infinite to get more information about the people that worked on these issues. In addition to the writing and penciling done by Milestone Media founders Dwayne Mcduffie and Dennis Cowan, we have inker Jimmy Palmiotti, which a lot of people know Jimmy Palmiotti because of his Jonah Hex run, Painkiller Jane, Harley Quinn. One of the main reasons I know about the man is because of Harley Quinn, the work he did with his wife Amanda Conner on Harley Quinn. He has done so many things. Those are just personally things that I know him for. But he did the inks on the first 4 issues of Hardware for Milestone Media. So the colorist was Noel Giddings, and there are various letterers throughout these first 4 issues. So what I want to do is I actually also want to take a little bit of time to dive in to the two men from Milestone Media that were the main artists on this piece. These 4 issues at least of Hardware, and that would be the writer Dwayne Mcduffie and the penciler Dennis Cowan. Dwayne Mcduffie is unfortunately no longer with us. He did die pretty suddenly, involving open heart surgery. Sorry, I had to pause that for a second. So Dwayne Mcduffie, he is no longer with us. He died unexpectedly in 2011 due to some open heart surgery. Just want to give you a little bit more information besides the fact that he died, and besides the fact that he owned, he was co-founder of Milestone Media. Let me give you a little bit more information about Dwayne Mcduffie. Dwayne Mcduffie was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, which a lot of people mention that Dakota, where all the Milestone characters and all the Milestone stories take place, is a kind of an comparison to Detroit, and it would make sense considering that Dwayne Mcduffie was from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised. He had in his life earned 3 Eisner Award nominations for his work. He said once of the need for representation, for better representation of African American Black characters in comics. He said, and I quote, "You only had 2 types of characters available for children. You had the stupid, angry brute, and the he's smart, but he's black characters. And they were all either colored this Hershey bar shade of brown, a sickly gray, or purple. I've never seen anyone that's gray or purple before in my life. There was no diversity and almost no accuracy among the characters of color at all." If you look at some of this that he's basically saying here, yeah, it was not good, and the representation was not there, and obviously there was a need, and these gentlemen went for it. In the early 1990s, he was he felt with the rest of the characters of the creators in Milestone Media, they felt the need for proper representation, as he mentioned in that quote that I just read. They felt the need for proper representation, and we're going to fill that hole in the market, and fill it they did, with characters and stories that transcended race lines and amazed countless people. I know that you cannot really, if you know someone that has been in comics and been into it since the 90s, everybody probably knows who Milestone Media is, Milestone Comics. They have probably encountered in some fashion static, whether it be in print or on TV with the cartoons. You've encountered or seen Hardware. You've encountered or seen Icon and Rocket. You have heard of Blood Syndicate. So you've at least heard about all these. If you've not read them, obviously, I fully recommend doing that. When in this article that I read here, there's an article that talked about Milestone Media's influence in the Plain Dealer out of Cleveland, Ohio. It was written in 2000 that the Milestone Media was the industry's most successful minority-owned and operated comic company. Another quote from Mr. McDuffie was in that article: if you do a Black character or a female character or an Asian character, then they aren't just that character. They represent that race or that sex, and they can't be interesting because everything they do has to represent an entire block of people. You know, Superman isn't all white people, and neither is Lex Luthor. We knew we had to present a range of characters within each ethnic group, which means that you couldn't just do one book. We had to do a series of books, and we had to present a view of the world that's wider than the world we've seen before. Yeah, so the strides that we've made in representation just over the last couple of years would be nowhere without the work of these 4 men taking a need for representation for marginalized communities, for minorities, and doing something about it. Seeing the need, doing something about it, developing this company with this wonderful artwork, this wonderful writing, and these wonderful icons of comic book industry, in comic book characters. We would not have I would like to say that I think that we would not have the kind of representation and strides of representation that we have now for all different communities, marginalized communities, non-privileged communities, without the work of these 4 men. So this is why this is important, to not only celebrate the strides that have been made recently, but recognize the fact that the strides have been made, have been going on. They've been going on since, well, the 90s. So right there, talking about the idea that representation is not enough to have somebody of a certain race, gender, sexuality on a page. It has to actually be a well-rounded character. You cannot just have the character there and consider it representation. The character has to have the depth to be represented. So that's a little bit about some things that Dwayne Mcduffie has said, but let's also talk about the man, Dennis Cowan. Oh man. Okay. This guy's art is just absolutely amazing. And you gotta check it out. And he is involved in the reboot of Milestone Media going on right now. And I have been a part of at least one chat where he's on YouTube, where he's jumped in and talked to everyone. So he is actually out there not only doing the work, but also going out and just joining in the comic community. And let me tell you, this guy just seems like the real deal, and not just the real deal, but the cool deal. Okay, like like not even like, you know, just jumping into somebody's chat on YouTube, you know. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, because then you're all of a sudden you as a fan, as a comic book fan, you recognize the name Dennis Cowan, and then he shows up in chats on live streams, and you're just like, wait a second, wait, what the hell? That's Dennis Cowan. And once you have that moment where you're like, oh shit, that's Dennis Cowan, and then you're like, okay, play it cool, Carrie. And we've all been in that position. We've all been there. Play it cool. Play it cool. We got to Van Damme this. They like, play it cool. And you know, I have been in plenty of the positions where I've met people, and it has not involved playing it cool. I kind of lose my words in some circumstances. Some circumstances I can play it cool, but like there's plenty of circumstances where I just lose the ability for speech. And yeah, so but it's a little bit easier when you're dealing with you know, trying to participate in a live chat online, where you just have to be like, okay, hopefully I don't type incorrectly, you know. That's the new thing you have to worry about, but at least you get to see it first before you hit enter. But okay, besides the fact that Dennis Cowan is a cool cat, his first published work in comic books is a three-page story that appears in Weird War Tales, number 93, came out in November 1980. It's for DC Comics. He also worked on DC Challenge. He worked on The Question with Dennis O'Neil, and what was the in 1987 he worked on a Batman story. It's Blind Justice, and it was in Detective Comics on number 598 through 600. Just a few different things that he had done. He worked in 1990 on the Deathlock miniseries. He's done a number of things, obviously. He ended up working with Dwayne Mcduffie on a Prince comic book. I'm gonna actually look that up. In 1991. What is that? Is it The Prince? We're gonna look, guys. Is that, where is it at? Yeah, okay, so as far as Wikipedia is concerned, there's like a hyperlink there. It is actually about Prince. I'm gonna have to check that out. So that's pretty cool. And from that relationship, he and working with him and knowing him, they put together Milestone Media in 1993. So let's go ahead, and I'd already mentioned that he ended up working for the Motown company with his other co-creator. Let's see here. Yeah, it was a co-creator of Michael Davis. And he's also done some artwork for let's see here. He's done oh gosh, I just see this now in what I'm reading here. He worked on the development of the premiere season of the Boondocks. Actually, I watched some of that. That's pretty cool. He worked on Motown Animation and Filmworks. And oh yep, he drew the cover art for the GZA Genius of Wu-Tang Clan's platinum selling album Liquid Swords. That's some good stuff. Yeah. He did the art for that. It's pretty awesome. If you've never seen it, look it up. It's pretty cool. Anyways, so let's talk about hardware. Let's talk about hardware because that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do. So hardware is Curtis Metcalf, and let me go ahead and show you Curtis. Here is Curtis. Okay, so this is Curtis. Let me see here. Curtis Metcalf is an inventor genius that grows up under and going through school and college under the tutelage of Alva, Edwin Alva. And Mr. Alva basically is grooming this guy, Curtis, to become to basically be a scientist, a guy, a scientist working for him, mentors him through his education. Curtis then ends up working for Alva, and basically, as an inventor. And a lot of people view him as being a big influence in the company. And so when he gets the idea that he wants to kind of have a bigger influence, like actual bigger influence in the company, he goes to Mr. Alva and is just like, hey, I want to have a bigger part in this. I would like, a raise, promotion, that kind of thing. I think I've been doing this. I think I'm good. I think I'm ready, and basically instead of opening him, welcoming him into this opportunity, open arms. Yes, you know what? This is what we've been working towards. He completely shuts Curtis down. Boom. Like, imagine being a person in that meeting. And I think we've all been in positions where we have felt like we are underappreciated or taken for granted in our work world, and so totally just shoots him down completely, and it sucks. So, well, Curtis is a bit miffed, with good reason, I would say so. I would say he's a bit miffed, and he wants to do something about it. He is mad as hell, and he's not going to take it anymore. And he eventually discovers that Mr. Alva is doing some stuff he shouldn't be doing. And he's just like, okay, so not only does he have this, company that's the face of the world, which is Alva Technologies, he also has a lot of illegal dealings. And now Curtis knows about him. So Curtis develops this secret laboratory where he starts building and putting together this armor / weapons project hardware. Hardware is basically a mechanical suit and weapons technology that he has developed in his secret lab to use to wear himself. And he outfits it with, I guess, a way to disguise his identity, his voice change machinery. He obviously finds a way to disguise himself so that he's not recognizable. And he decides he is going to take revenge. Now, first of all, he goes all balls to the wall on this. Okay. He is going to get revenge, and he does not care about the collateral damage. person wise or property wise. So you get in the first couple issues, you get him in a position where, you know, he's right away, he is like fighting like mad, and he actually encounters some bad guys. And one of the first bad guys he finds and he encounters, it's like this dude like just multiplies like in front of him into many different, it's like multiplicity. It's multiplicity minus Michael Keaton plus, okay, so basically it's kind of like a blonde, sinister Michael Keaton. Blonde, sinister Michael Keaton. Okay, not sinister like the character in the Homecoming, Spider-Man Homecoming. No, not like that. Different, but multiplicity minus normal good Michael Keaton plus psychotic blonde Michael Keaton. Yeah, I like that. It is multiplicity minus good Michael Keaton plus psycho Michael Keaton with blonde hair. Multiplying. Ooh, lots of different ones. And they all kind of like finish each other's sentences. Yeah. So like there's this moment right here where I love the wit on Curtis on Hardware because he's like, damn, this guy isn't a hitman. He's the Mormon Tabernacle choir. I love that. I don't know, that made me laugh more than it should have. Okay. Honestly, it probably made me laugh more than it should have. He's trash talking his opponents, which is basically multiplicity minus Michael Keaton plus psycho Michael Keaton with blonde hair. Okay, so yeah. And you see it right there, is like, there he is, blow him away. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So Hardware gets injured in this fight. He gets away, but he gets injured. Let me go back there. We're not quite to that one spot yet. So he gets injured and he goes home, and he's so injured. He's like knocked out. He's like shedding the armor. It's all over his apartment. And one of his friends that's a professor, then you get this idea right away that there's that kind of relationship where it's the will they or won't they kind of relationship between him and this professor. You get that idea as you're reading it. And she goes and she stops by his place, and she lets herself in because apparently she can. And she finds him, and he's injured, and everything is all around, and he's like, well, whoops. So you probably want an explanation for all of this. It's basically like, you know, he's in a position where he's like, okay, well, I'm caught and I'm gonna have to explain myself. So he goes ahead and he goes into this whole story, telling her about everything that happened, you know, and I have to appreciate the fact that, you know, he's just sitting there and he's not trying to insult her intelligence by making up some weird story. He's just like, I'm going straight for the truth, no matter how it makes him look. He's going straight for the truth with her, telling her exactly what's going on. And I'm sitting there as a reader like, okay, here we go. We're gonna get Hardware's sidekick right here. This is gonna be his sidekick. And she's gonna be right on. She's gonna be like, yeah, screw him. Screw that Alva Technologies company. But no, she's not having it. She's just like, she is pretty unhappy about the fact that he is killing people and hurting people. And she's like, you're going through all of this because you didn't get a raise. And it, oh man, it makes him think. And it's that interaction that makes him realize, wait a second here. I could very well just destroy everything this guy has. I could kill him. I could do it easily like that. But what does that accomplish? So basically, this woman becomes the voice in his head, and he decides he's going to take a different approach. And that different approach basically means that he wants it all. He wants to take over everything. He wants to expose this guy, take over everything, leave him ruined. Because it's not enough to kill this guy. And I like that. I like that. It's not enough to kill this guy. I have to ruin him. Let him experience what it feels like to be brought down to that level. And that is truly how, this guy wants to get revenge. You actually end up at the point where Curtis has basically like, I'm going to take a different route here. I'm going to just take all your records, everything you have. I have it all. So I can take over your industry. And you're going to have to watch it. I like that. I like that, hitting him on this level. And it gets to the point where you're near, and I switched to this page here. I really love this moment where you have up here, you have he's basically returning a pile of crap, like a pile of pieces of what, like, this guy that in this huge armor was sent to kill Hardware. And he basically defeats him. I'm sorry, I'm yawning for some reason. And he defeats them and brings it back to him. It's this huge pile of machinery and bits and pieces. And he's like, if this is the best you got to defend yourself, you might as well give up now, because you haven't got a leg to stand on. I love it because he just actually broken this guy's leg in their last meeting. And then you have this moment here where he's like, I'm on you. Just try something else, anything, and you can give your soul to the Lord, because your ass belongs to me. I love that cockiness and that wit, where it's just like, how some people can be cocky and you're just like, you know what, just go take a seat. But then there's some people where they have that whole, the right stuff, right? And they're just like, yeah, you can give your soul to the Lord because your ass belongs to me. And you're just like, go ahead and stand, sir. Walk around the place a bit. Because it's just the way it's like, yeah, here we go. This is a hero right here. This is a hero. And I love, this isn't where the issue ends. What I love is when all this encounter is over and he's back in his apartment. And he's with his friend, the professor, and he has gotten a parakeet. And he talks about how he had a parakeet when he was a kid, and the parakeet just starts flying around the apartment. And she's like, oh no, the parakeet's flying around the apartment. You gotta grab it and put it in its cage. And he's like, no, there's no cage for this bird. That's the deal I made with this bird. I'm not going to put it in a cage like I was put in a cage. Oh, love it. Love it. I'm not going to, the deal he has with the bird is to not put it in a cage because he has that respect for the bird. And wow. I sit on that and think about that for a moment, guys. Like, that's powerful imagery plus words that really are there not to hit you over the head with a thought or a feeling, but to sit there and be like, here it is. Here it is. Now think about it. Think about it. Hardware has given me plenty to think about. I did very much enjoy those first 4 issues. I'm probably here and there planning to read more. But actually, I am, based on a lot of information I've gotten, a lot of things that people have said. We do have the reboot of Blood Syndicate actually starting in May. And I think actually for my next Flashback Friday, I'm going to read the first few issues at least of Blood Syndicate that came out back in the original Milestone Media days. It comes highly recommended by a number of people. So I am very much wanting to read that, plus of the idea that it is kind of inspired in part by the Warriors, which I love the Warriors. If you've never seen the Warriors, I cannot recommend it enough. It is very violent and that kind of thing, but still really good. But anyways, yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and say that here. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do Milestone Media's Blood Syndicate as my next Flashback Friday, because I can. Probably I have the Milestone Compendium available to me. I also have the DC Universe Infinite app available to me. Right now, the Milestone Compendium is around $50. It's the first of, I think there's going to be 2 or 3. The second one is going to be released. I believe the recent dates were like the end of July 2023. But this first Milestone Compendium is out. It is around a $50 price tag. So if you're not like my boyfriend, who is basically just read a bunch of the Milestone Media when it originally came out and is just so excited to read it again, and was very confident that he wanted it and that he was going to love it. If you are not that confident like he is, where you can just go ahead and purchase a $50 compendium, then I would recommend, if you're using DC Universe Infinite and you are interested in reading more, not only hardware, but maybe also checking out stuff like Static Shock or Blood Syndicate, Icon and Rocket. all those, then I would recommend using DC Universe Infinite because it's there. Obviously, I read the first 4 issues of Hardware on that site. You can read it on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer, and there you go. I do recommend, I can say that I do recommend reading Hardware. I did very much enjoy it. Like I said, I might read, probably will end up reading some more. So that's it. That's it for this edition of Flashback Fridays, unofficial geek channel. Check out some of our more recent videos. This past Wednesday, we talked about the breaking news in regards to Rom V taking over the writing for Detective Comics coming this July. Recently, I talked about the collected edition, volume 1 of War Olympus. Obviously, we have the weekly comic review. We've also recently talking about the offerings that are coming up for Free Comic Book Day this year on May 7th. So lots of interesting, fun content. At least I hope it's interesting, and you can check it out in my past videos. But anyways, until then, until next time, I guess that this is the officially unofficial geek channel, Flashback Friday, with the Hardware first 4 issues from Milestone Media. And I'll be seeing you guys until next time. Bye.